Good evening and welcome to our Waterside Chat. I am again at Highland Lake, the only repeat of the Waterside Chat series. I'm at the lake house of the Maurer family, and thanks again for them hosting me tonight. I'm here partially because their two children, grown children, are back. Their son, who lives in Philly, and their daughter lives in Colorado, are here visiting, and I haven't seen them in a while. I thought it'd be really nice to see them, and so I wanted to be here tonight. And you know what? It got me thinking about young people and the church. And if you're watching this and you're a church person, you will know that young people don't go to church. According to a Pew Research Center research thing that came out a couple years ago, only 4 in 10 millennials now say that they're religiously affiliated. And it doesn't speak well for the future of organized religion. And you can imagine, as a pastor, this is something that I actually think about quite a bit. And my first thought about it is always this: it's going to be okay. I don't think that faith is going away. I don't think that people don't believe in God or don't care about spiritual matters. I just know that young people are not finding that need for organized religion, or maybe even better put, the church is not providing a place for them to be who they are. And the truth is that lots of churches face is that they don't want to change, and that the world that they're in is changing. And I don't just mean in the last 15 years. I mean the world is always changing, right? All the time we're discovering new scientific advancements. We're learning more about people that are different from us. We're learning more about people that don't fit in to the nice, neat nuclear family box. We're learning about people in parts of the world that our parents and grandparents could never have imagined. We know more now than we've ever known in human history. And I think for many people, that reality is scary, and they would rather not know any of it. Maybe because it's information overload, or maybe it's something else. I was reading an article this week in the New York Times about evangelical Christians in Iowa who voted for Trump. And I promise this is not going to be political. I'll get back to my point, but here we go. Stick with me. I was reading this article because I really want to understand that viewpoint. And it was an interesting article. And in some ways, I could understand where they were coming from. They felt that their way of life was under attack and that politicians didn't care and didn't listen to them or their issues. And I can understand that because I often feel that way about politicians, that they don't speak to the things that I want them to speak about. And I'm frustrated when politicians who I voted for don't stand up for the things that I think they should, simply because it's politically inconvenient for them to do so. So I got that part of it. But what I disagreed with was the Christian part of it. For them, Christianity was about protecting, quote unquote, their way of life. And as a pastor in the church, as someone who's studied theology, the Bible, and church history, I can't get on board with that idea, because Christianity is about letting go of our lives in service and love to others. Jesus said this on multiple occasions: those who want to save their lives will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and the sake of the gospel will gain it. It is the giving up of our lives that we come to the spiritual nature of Jesus' teaching. It's when we give up our ideas of right and wrong that we can serve and love our neighbor. It's when we give up our need to dominate other people that we come to see that everyone is a child of God. It's when we give up our fears that we see in our neighbor's value. Jesus told us, "What good is it if you gain the whole world but lose your soul?" What good is it for us to have large church buildings and large endowments if we don't use them to spread the good news of Jesus Christ? What good is it for us to have the world run our way if in the process we hurt other people? What good is it if everyone is like us, but in order to get there we trample on other people? I bring this up because this is why we're losing the younger generation. The more that Christianity becomes about a narrow definition about what it means to have faith in Jesus Christ, the more the younger generation is going to reject it. I know that that's a big thing to say, but the statistics are there. And I'd like to recommend a book for you. It's called Unchristian: what a new generation really thinks about Christianity. And it was a book written a long time ago, actually 2007, but it was written by evangelicals. And they noticed that young people were leaving the evangelical churches and wanted to know why. So this one pastor, he gave up his job and he recruited his statistician friend to find out. And they interviewed thousands of young people, and they came to the conclusion that, quote, for many people, the Christian faith looks wear and threadbare. They admit that they have a hard time actually seeing Jesus because all the negative baggage that now surrounds him. They found in the research that young people think Christians are hypocritical, that they only care about salvation, they're anti-homosexual, they're sheltered, too political, and in this particular book, the study was about the Christians being too connected to the Republican Party and judgmental. If we think about those things, we can see that it doesn't shine a good light on Christianity. And I would argue are not what the biblical teachings of what Jesus taught us. Jesus taught us to be known in the world for our love. Jesus taught us to get out of our comfort zone so that we can care for others. Jesus taught us that political power is often polluting of our souls. Jesus taught us that salvation is not about going to heaven, but is about the kingdom of God coming to earth. Jesus taught us to judge less so that we will not be judged. How did we become the Pharisees of this story? I think it's because for a long time Christianity had all the power, and Christianity dominated the culture. And when that happens, we lose sight of what we really are called to do by God. When we started thinking that we lost control, I think we lost our way, because our mission became about trying to maintain power instead of serving the gospel. Now, I'm a parish pastor, so I deal with organized religion on a scale of our congregation that I've been called to serve. And I can tell you, it exists on that level. There's a lot of worry about what will happen to our church, what will happen when and if people stop coming, or maybe even more, what will happen if new people do come. Will the new people insist on changing things? Will the church that brings me comfort be different? And my answer is always yes. New people bring new ideas, new perspective, new energy. Young people bring new ideas, new perspective, new energy. And that is a good thing. It's what keeps the church moving. It's what keeps the good news of Jesus Christ from sinking into being tied to a political party, a time in history, or a particular ideology. What makes us learn how to truly love one another. Jesus actually tells us a story about this. It's a story about a man who's on a road. He's attacked and robbed and left for dead. And along comes a religious leader who wants nothing to do with what's happening because he might get dirty. And then comes another religious person. And again, that person doesn't want to be involved in such a thing. Then it comes along a person who not only has no religion, but the wrong religion. And he has compassion and stops and helps the man and goes above and beyond, spending his own money to help him. Jesus lifts up that person as the real religious person in the story, the person who does the will of God. And that is the example Jesus gives to us. Don't be afraid to offer love. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty if it means helping someone else. Don't be afraid of the world. Instead, give up your life so that you can really gain it. Give up your desire for power so that you will not lose your soul. I don't know if changing any of that will bring back the next generation to church. It might be too late. But maybe something more important will actually happen, as we'll see the good news of Jesus Christ alive in ourselves and in the world. Just some things I've been thinking about this week. I hope it's been thought-provoking for you. And thank again for the Mowers for hosting me. This will be my last Waterside chat. But starting on September 2nd, I will be having lawn-side chats. I will be going to people's lawns in our congregation to give these Wednesday chats. So until then, may God continue to bless and be with you. Thank you for being here.